Tim Bradford is one of the strongest names in The Rookie. Fans love him, fear him, and sometimes even hate his choices. Today we're counting down the most horrifying decisions Tim Bradford ever made, starting with bringing his past trauma into relationships. Tim Bradford was a soldier before he was a cop, and that part of his life never really left him. The battles he fought overseas were long over, but the scars stayed inside his mind, and instead of keeping them buried, he dragged them into every single part of his personal life. This was where Tim made one of his biggest mistakes. Tim's past changed the way he treated the people who actually cared for him. Instead of letting them in, he kept his distance. When things needed peace, he tried to control them. When all that was needed was trust, he held it back. Because of that, he ruined moments that could have brought him real happiness. Even with Lucy, when there was a chance for something good, his fears turned it into a mess. He let the past control the present, and that mistake dragged him into problems again and again. By the time season 7 came, Tim finally tried to face it. We see him in a veteran support group, showing that he is ready to work on himself. But the truth is simple. His choice to let trauma run his relationships was one of his worst calls, and it left cracks that could not be fully fixed. Another horrifying decision Tim made was silently walking away from Lucy. Tim Bradford had spent years dancing around his feelings for Lucy. Their bond was steady, lovely, caring, and full of little moments that made fans fall for them even more. After all that build up, you would think the payoff would be worth it, but instead of holding on to what they finally had, Tim made one of his worst choices. He ended it, and he did it without giving Lucy the full explanation.
And I can't just go back to the way things were. Not right now.
The breakup felt like a punch. Lucy was left lost and hurt, and the fans could not believe it either. Everyone could see that Tim had real feelings for her, but he just could not stop himself from ruining it. He thought pushing her away would somehow make things better, but all it did was break both of them even more. Showrunner Alexi Hawley even said it clearly. The worst thing Tim could do to himself was walk away from Lucy, and that's exactly what he did. By not explaining himself, he left Lucy with nothing but pain and questions, and the damage went beyond love. It shook their partnership too, proving that this decision was one of the biggest mistakes Tim ever made, turning his heartbreak into self-destruction. After his breakup with Lucy, Tim Bradford started acting in ways that shocked everyone around him. Instead of dealing with the pain, he let it eat him up inside, and that pain came out through his actions on the job. Sergeant Gray even said it looked like Tim was ready to throw his whole career away, and the truth is, he was not far from it. Tim began to take risks that were not his style. He ignored rules that he once followed closely. He went into situations without thinking twice. The calm and careful officer that people knew was gone, replaced by someone who did not care what happened next. He was not only putting himself in danger, but also the people who worked beside him, which made it even worse. What hurt the most was how avoidable it all was. Fans didn't expect Tim to react this way. Instead of facing his feelings about Lucy, he chose to drown them in reckless moves. Every bad call pulled him further down, and the more he lived in this pain, the stronger it controlled him. That wasn't just a mistake, it was a decision that risked everything he had worked to build. One of Tim Bradford's worst decisions was his refusal to seek help when it was clear he needed it. The weight of his trauma and reckless choices was increasing day by day, but instead of sharing it with someone, Tim kept running from it. He thought admitting it would make him look weak, so he chose to hide it instead of facing it. And that was one of his biggest mistakes. It was clear that he needed support, but his pride would not let him take the first step. It finally reached a point where Sergeant Gray had to step in.
I need you to take Dr. London on the ride along.
Gray sent him to the department therapist, who even rode along with Tim for a shift just to see how he was handling things. That move showed how serious the situation had become. Tim was no longer in control of himself, and his refusal to accept support had only made it worse. This was not just stubbornness, it came from the pressure of being a tough soldier and cop. Like some old-schooled tough men, Tim thought asking for help would break that image. But by holding it all inside, he only caused more damage. If he had faced it earlier, maybe he could have healed sooner. Instead, waiting until Gray forced him into therapy became another one of his worst choices, disappearing without any trace. This time, Tim Bradford's past showed up again, and it was someone he thought was long gone. He learned that Ray Watkins, a man from his old military unit, was alive. Ray had killed 2 fellow soldiers for money and then faked his death. Tim and Mark Greer even signed false papers so Ray's family could get death benefits. Now Ray was back, and he was was ready to use that secret against them. Instead of trusting Lucy or letting the people around him know what was happening, Tim chose to disappear. He walked out on a date with Lucy and then went missing for 36 hours without saying a single word. To her, it was as if he just ran away. His disappearance was very painful. It hurt Lucy and pulled them apart at a time when they should have been standing side by side.
Sorry, I had no idea.
No more excuses, Tim. You have to tell me what's going on with you. Right now. Now!
His name is Ray Watkins. He was under my command in Iraq. I thought he was killed in action, but he's back and he's gonna hurt someone if I don't do something about it.
None of that. None of it explains why you cut me out.
No, it doesn't.
Tim's intentions might have been to protect Lucy, but his decision did the opposite. By keeping her in the dark, he broke her trust and left her questioning everything. And the cost was heavy. Not only did it hurt their relationship, but it also led to him being kicked off Metro. This mistake showed how his past could still destroy his present, standing by when he should have stood up. Tim Bradford's worst calls came during the time Jackson West was stuck with Doug Stanton as his training officer. Jackson could already feel that something was wrong. Stanton was openly racist and dangerous to work with, so Jackson went to Tim for advice, hoping that someone with his experience would guide him. But Tim's answer was shocking. Instead of calling Stanton out, he told Jackson that Stanton was a solid cop, and that maybe he just needed to put up with it until his training was over.
Look, I hear he's a solid cop. Learn what's useful and ignore the rest.
That choice was a huge mistake. By staying silent, Tim gave Stanton the space to keep doing damage. His words made it feel like Stanton's behavior was something to be tolerated, and that only made things harder for Jackson. It showed how dangerous silence can be, especially when it comes from someone like Tim. Later, Tim realized how far Stanton was going, and he knew this could not continue. He finally stepped in and worked with Jackson to expose Stanton, making sure the truth came out. But that first reaction stayed as one of Tim's lowest points. For someone who was supposed to protect, he almost chose to look away, using work as therapy and sabotaging himself. Tim used his job as a kind of therapy. When he felt bad, he buried the pain in work. He treated calls like a place to fix his head. That choice not only affected him, but also hurt people around him. On duty, he could be sharp and brave. Off duty, he felt empty and guilty. Instead of opening up or asking for help, Tim invested himself into the job. He took on risky calls, almost like he wanted the danger. It was his way of proving he belonged in the uniform. This pattern played out again and again. He messed up chances to move on, pushed people away who tried to help, and used punishment as a way to pay for things he thought he did wrong. It almost destroyed every chance for maintaining peace in his life. With Lucy, it was worse. He kept pulling away when he should have opened up. He punished himself by breaking what could have been good. The showrunner Holly said Tim was punishing himself for his own failures. You could see it in the way he turned his back on moments that could have made his life easier. Every time he had a chance to heal, he chose to keep hurting himself. His job was never the cure, it only kept the wounds open. Well guys, that's all for today. We'll be back soon with another The Rookie recap. Until then, subscribe to our channel, ring the bell icon, and stay tuned for more updates.